Hello, everybody. Hello. And why? There we go. That's a little laggy, though. What's going on with that? Good Monday evening. It's Monday. It's actually Monday night. On the East Coast, anyway. It's 9:02. All right. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to turn this mess into something cool, hopefully. This is our TreeWalker view of Mandrel. And we'll get into exactly what TreeWalker is, because we're going to have Claude, or actually Ridge, that's its name here, because Ridge is kind of running our whole setup, our whole company. So I'm going to show you how I start a session. And you can see I cleared the session right here. So we got nothing in context. So all I do, because we're connected to Mandrel, which Mandrel is our project history, our working memory, and it stores all of our context. So any work that we do, some of these things you're going to see in here are runners that we have. And so we got alerts because we're monitoring. We're actually hosting Mandrel, and we have some users. So we are monitoring all of that. So every time we push or deploy to the fleet, we make sure that we're that everything's up and working like it's supposed to. But this is our working memory, and this is what I'm running my company off of. This is what we run all of our builds off of. Everything that we do is stored in here, either through a context, a decision that we make, and the work that we do in our task board. So you can see we've got 149 open, which is not good. But a lot of that stuff is just, well, it's a mix of things. It's a mix of our runtime that we working on, and some Mandrel work and things like that. So one of the things we do with these contexts and decisions and tasks is we can thread those together. So when you're working, so like tonight's session, if I go to sessions up here, it's going to pop. All of these are showing dormant. Okay. So these have run today. And the last time that they ran was just showing over here. So it's been a little bit. This is one of our monitoring runners. This here is an evaluation runner that we have on our decisions, and we'll talk about that later. Our foreman is our agent that does the work, and this is Ridge, and this is our point of contact, our orchestrator. And we use Opus 5 for that. And let's see if it's listed up here, because we've been working on this. So I'm hoping it's not going to show up right now. Okay. But we might see one tonight. But we also have another agent that we use called Tesla. And that is Fable 5. So, and Ridge is actually really good about using Tesla. So if it gets stuck and we have some standing rules in our runtime, that if we attempt something twice and it doesn't work, we automatically go to this different workflow, and that includes making a call to Tesla to get a second opinion, basically. So, all right, so this is Mandrel, and I started talking about what we thread together. So yeah, we if we make a decision, let's start here. If we make a decision, and this is just gonna describe the decision we made, what the problem is, the decision we made, the rationale for that decision, the why. And if there's aren't any alternatives, we can put those here. And then we have success criteria, if that's applicable. That's a tough word for me, so we won't say that one again. So down here, this is oh, this is not a very good one. Let me see if I can find one that's got a little more to it. This might have one. Yeah. All right, so this is a decision. What was this? Command UI, project scoping, per page selectors everywhere. No, okay, yeah. So we had a global selector for Mandrel, and it was located up here. But on our different pages, because of, well, sessions is a good one. If we came back to sessions, you know, we needed to find a little more fine control. So we put a project selector in here. So what ended up happening is, you know, these were duplicates and one wouldn't control the other. So we ripped that out and we just put project selectors on each page. Probably not the best. I don't know. Seems to work pretty well. Because, you know, if you're working multiple projects, you need to be able to flip. That was the rationale here. You need to be able to flip through them. So let's go back. Where was that one? Command right here. All right. So that was the decision we made, was to take this out. And when we make this decision, then we thread everything that applies to this decision gets tagged a typed edge graph, or typed edge, and we thread all of that work together. So we tie it all together. So what that allows you to do is stop and start anywhere. So I could work on the UI here. We could go off and work on, let's say, our runtime. Okay, we could go and work on our runtime next, and we could just jump from branch to branch. So every time we switch branches, this thread, depending on what branch you're on, this thread will load up as context. So the model, the agent, Claude, would either call a tool called recall thread, and that recall thread tool basically threads all of these contexts together so we can read it. So it knows the history of the work. So it knows what branch it's on and what it's doing right away. All right, so that's what we call TreeWalker. And this is the page, and this is a mess. And we're going to work on this tonight, get this so we can understand the flow and what's going on. And this is hard. This is hard for models. Not hard for models. That's not right. It's the best way. It is if they require a lot more feedback, so they need a lot more visual feedback, because they're guessing here. Well, that's not true either. But they don't have eyes, you know, so they've got to take screenshots and lots of screenshots and do some work, look at the work they did, take another screenshot and make sure, you know, what the code translates to the view. So we're going to encourage them taking lots of screenshots tonight, but first we're going to get an understanding of how they built the code, and what this code is supposed to do, because we're going to start from what it's supposed to do and look at what we have, and that way we'll get it, at least for me, in my mind, we get a better understanding of how to manipulate it and get with the views that we want. All right, so that's what we're doing. So what I do, and by the way, if anybody's watching live, please leave a comment, say something, tell me where you're from, ask a question. This is interactive. Check something real quick. Okay. So again, we've got a cleared session. There's nothing in context other than, the Claude MD and the documents it's going to read coming in. So all I do, because we're using Mandrel, and that's our project history, and it knows from a handoff, that's our main document that we use to transfer work, and that can point the next model to what's next, or the branch it's working on, or the branch that I say we want to work on next. And the point here, from one of the big points here, is Mandrel contains the information, and it contains all the context between that, the code base, the repo, any supporting documents you have. I shouldn't have to say a whole lot most of the time. Now, tonight's going to be a little bit different because this is a mess. So we're going to have to iterate quite a bit. And there's a lot going on this page, and there's a lot that's supposed to happen on this page. And so we're going to have to do a little more iteration and talking back and forth with the model. So all I do, I say boot up, reference, resume. I hit enter, and it's going to go read its supporting documents, Claude.md. We have a canonical document that it reads in on, the boot up process that we run. All of this seems like a lot, but it's not a lot. I try to keep that stuff as tight as I can, because context still is precious. I don't care what anybody says, because if you give it the wrong context, or it doesn't get the right information, things can go sideways. Especially when you have a bigger code base, a bigger project that you're trying to maintain. And here, Ridge is our orchestrator, so it's having to do a lot. Not so much tonight. We're going to keep it focused, but most days, because this thing runs with remote control now, I can start it in the morning, start it on a group of tasks, or start it on what I wanted to do. It runs all day. I pretty much have to answer a question every once in a while. And then it just keeps chugging along. So I usually use my nights, because I work full time. I usually use my nights to, when I have to be more involved and do more one-on-one iteration. So I'm saying all this, and I think I've got a bad thread because I messed up before we started. So I'm going to give it a minute here, because it shouldn't take this long. But I think I've disconnected. Actually, let's check it. Because, yeah, that's what I thought. I might start a new session. So you get to see it live. Let's bring this full screen. So this runs on my VPS box. So I have two VPSs. I have one that we work out of, that is our dev box, which is the one I'm getting ready to get into. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to close this totally out. All right, it's on a system D, so it's gonna restart on its own. But yeah, this is running on my dev box and it's in Tmux. And we do that because, you know, obviously you can detach and attach. That process keeps running. So, all right, so I should be able to go here and have a new session. Let's put this in remote control. All right, and let's bring this back. Should have a new session here. There we go. Let's rename it. We're gonna go Ridge, and date is the 10th. So wow, man, can't believe it's August 10th already. Jesus, time, man, when you go, especially as you get old. All right, now we're in a brand new session now. So again, I say boot up, reference resume, and that is it. And we should be off to the races. Leave this up here and you can see this populates a lot quicker than the desktop app. But I am thankful that we have a Linux desktop app for Claude code now. That is a good thing. All right. So you can see this is that TreeWalker.md, which is telling Claude Ridge how we operate and how we use our typed edges. I read the conical as I talked about in here. It's calling Aegis. That's the old name. It's calling Mandrel. It's made sure it was in Ridgetop AI, which is the project we're supposed to be working in. It must have got presented with a few error messages. It's making sure everything is healthy. All right, so this is how it's going to start. You can see mode is facilitate, define to lock. So just it's its own way of saying we're going to iterate, not build. And that's all been set up from the handoff from the previous session. So TreeWalker is a signature product, and Brian said this one has to be right. No foreman, no build task until the shape is defined, and he locks it. That's true. What was our alerts? None live, self-healed. Yeah, that was when we did a deploy. All right, so it says it's ready. So what I want it to do is I want it to read the code. So we're going to say now let's go back to the I don't have to be this specific, but just for streaming sake, read Mandrel Command TreeWalker. Say code and first thing. All right, so I basically just said, read the code on that page, on this page, and tell me what this is supposed to do. As a user, what am I supposed to see? What am I supposed to do to manipulate this, that kind of thing, because I want it to gather the context first on what we're doing so it understands what we have already, and also so I understand what this was supposed to be. And really, it's because they didn't take screenshots when they built this. I mean, we spec'd this out, but I know they didn't take screenshots because they didn't check any of this. If they would have taken screenshots of this, they're smart enough to know and understand. They can read screenshots very well. So this would have never passed. So again, if anybody is watching live, leave a comment. This is an interactive live stream. We're gonna wait for Ridge to go get the. Let's see, what is it doing it itself, or did it send an agent? No, it's doing it itself. It's taking it serious. That's what I was trying to do. All right, it's back. Let's see what we got. Pick one anchor record. That's what I thought. Walk its typed edge neighborhood and show it two ways at once. A graph, what's connected and to what, and a story, the order it happened in. Okay, so we got the graph and this is the order, but I think that's what we're missing, is we're missing a way to select. We can't select anything from there. Now I think none of this is that works. All right, let's go back and read the rest of this. The concept, pick one at record, walk its typed edge. Okay, it's the work side counterpart to surveyor. Four things are encoded visually, and that's the whole design language. Record kind, edge type, trust, and position on the thread. What you should see. TreeWalker, edge type mag. Okay, we got all that. That's right. Yeah, it's resolving to the newest context tagged reference resume. For Rich Top AI right now, that resolves the let's see if that's yeah, it's not even doing that from what I'm seeing. I'm gonna have to sneeze, y'all. Hold on. All right. That was only one though, and I usually never only sneeze one time, so I'm sure there's another one coming. Like the anchor page, we just read that. The walk over the links table, both directions, mapped out 2, measured on the 3rd, the spine picks, the story order is 5, fixed rules, decision spine was decided by, spine itself tasks, da da da. Yeah, see, it knows it. No, this is why I wanted it to go read the code. See, it already knows the problem. The screen renders, but almost nothing you click actually does anything. 9 things I'll read straight from the source. Okay. There are 2 different trust models now. The command backend has its own column driven. All right, 1, I'd flag as suspected but not confirmed. Only proven filter nodes and story set client side but not edges. Orphaned edges likely just vanish. All right, now we're going to give you a screenshot. You don't have to pull it up in a browser. We're going to show you what it looks like now. And I'm going to have to make this smaller for a minute so I can get all of this. So what I'm going to tell it. All right, let's take this back. Okay, I'm gonna say you. No. That will be our base. All right, so I'm saying it's told me all these things. It's not working. It's wrong, which is it's all right. I'm saying let's go fix everything that you found up here wrong and get everything wired and working the way it's supposed to work. And then that's going to be our starting point. So let's see what happens here. Now, this is probably going to be a lot of waiting. So I'm not sure how exciting this is going to be. So that's why I need audience participation. We're going to try to follow along. And actually, let me do this too. Server. Yes. All right, so I'm just telling it to bring up a dev server because we don't do that all the time. Because a lot of things, doesn't require that. But since this is so visual, we need to see those changes, and we'll get hot reloads. So we should be able to see those changes as they take effect. So that's the plan. Stand. Man, I wish we could play like really good music streaming and not regulated or relegated to that's it, to lo-fi all the time. Hold on a second, let's see what we got here. All right, so it's changing mode from facilitate to define to lock, and then this is a build ask, so it's saying it's got to go into the build mode. Looking at your screenshot. It confirms everything I read plus 2 things I couldn't see from the code. White space, no wrap, 0 title, title truncation. So they're all wrapped on top of each other. All right, so now the question we're going to jump to trunk is a no op because there is no trunk in the data. Oh, code of strings, not a real lineage. What should that button? All right, we'll go with the recommended. It's saying because our model is think of a tree, so we're calling it a trunk. The tree is the project. The trunk is where you're working off of. So when we have our branches, so like in this case, we're working on our TreeWalker UI page. That would be the branch. So all work on that branch is going to be threaded together. But what it's saying is, I've got another one. I've got 3 questions. Hold on. Story rail says recall thread 8 steps, but the command backend does not call recall thread. It redrives its own file ordering. Different package. Yeah, we're not gonna cut corners here. I want the real thing. For the graph itself, how far do I go on decluttering? 37 nodes and 6 of the edges are bold handoffs, layout, and truncate edge filters. Yeah, we'll go that way out. Basically, we're just decluttering. Right, is it going to bring up that dev server? Did it get that message? Yep, there it got it. Now it got it. All right, so back to, let's look at Mandrel again. So you've got a dashboard where you kind of can see your project stats, and we can, again, we can do all projects here. So you got everything combined. So right now in Mandrel, I have 102 projects that were, well, we're not working on all of them, but 349 active tasks across those projects, 9,922 contexts, and 143 decisions. So I've been using this since October of 2025. Every one of my builds, everything that I do goes through Mandrel, including, again, Ridge is running Ridgetop AI. It's responsible for, as you can tell tonight, the Mandrel upgrades, Mandrel features, Mandrel maintenance. We have an ops agent that runs our boxes and makes sure everything is, our memory's good. We monitor our API endpoints, backups. Backups are hugely important. And because we're serving, we have customer data. We have three-point backups. We're taking snapshots every hour as well. So, if we have something catastrophic happen, the worst that would happen is we lose an hour's worth of work. So, man, the Twitch promoters come out, don't they? All right. Let's see. Standing up. Yeah, it's still working on getting our dev server going. Well, it's found an issue. So we're going to be sidetracked on that for a minute. So we were missing index.ts. That's weird. Yeah, don't expose it to the public IP now. I think what we're going to do is bring it up over here. Oh, that. Let me get out of this. Close that. Where I had an audio issue earlier, so I had to run Claude local to fix it. Here. Oh. Yeah, let me bring that up full screen right now. If anybody's watching live, leave a comment. Tell me where you're watching from or something you're working on. Or if you have any questions, ask away. This is interactive. Yes, tail scale. That's what you should have done to begin with, man. Maybe I haven't brought up a dev server yet. I know I have on my other projects, so I don't know why we're having such a hard time here. They always find a way. They always find a workaround, man. That's the amazing thing about them. They just they just don't quit because they don't have feelings, man. They don't get mad. They don't get upset. They just keep working, keep generating tokens. Token monsters. Or as my grandson would say, monsters. Token monsters. Oh, this is taking a long time. I might start a new session before we get the dev server up. And by the way, I don't do a million tokens. I still don't think they're good enough for that. Maybe you can do it, you know, if you put them on just one thing and one goal, give them a goal and let them go. They might be able to work through it then, but not when you're switching like right here. If he spends way too much time invested in getting this dev server up, then I would clear it and start again. It looks like we're up. Let's see. So do it here first. And it's HTTP. think I don't have to do all that extra. I think I got it. Let's see here. I do have to do it because of that UUID. So what do I got to run here? I got to SSH. Oh, let me. Well, let's see here. Should be there. Why is it not working? Let's do a hard refresh and clear anything. Let's dev bridge. Oh, that's why. Wow, Brian. If you would have read what it tells you. Let's see here. I've never done this before. Never had to do this before. So this is all brand new territory here. How is that? Let's see. Oh, it is there. All right, now we're cooking. Now we got it. I'm not going to spend much more time here. All right, that was tree. right. Let me get login, but I give them this real quick. That's what I ran. That's what I ran. Let's do it again. TV. Nope. Worked that time, so I typed something wrong. All right, now we can bring this over here. Let's close that. Now we can have just this up and we can see what's going on. All right. Get back to where we were. All right, don't be lazy on me here. All right, well, tell me again what you're saying. I'd rather land items 1 through 4 as the working base. Readability. All right, let's just let him go with it. All right, so we're telling it they wanted to do as they usually do. They want to get you quick wins. So it's looking at the work and it's saying I don't have to scope these items out, but I have to scope this one out. So it wants to do the ones it doesn't have to scope out first. So we're gonna let it do that. And what happened? Why is it gone now? All right, well, we're gonna let it work and then we'll bring try to get that back up, but it's gonna get, I'm gonna let it get the workers going first. Hold on one second. Be right back. My dog decided to open the door, so I had to go close the door again. Guardians Risk, what's up? New to stream, not new to Claude. Well, that's kind of me. As you can tell, I'm not a professional streamer, but we're trying to get better. Let's see if I can do so tell me what kind of builds or projects are you doing with Claude? Now let's see. So as you can see, it got our, there we go. Well, they went away. They're up here. We've got 2 agents running right now. So if we go to Squire, that's another app I built. We go to Mandrel and we go to our sessions, and we can see right here now we've got Ridge running, which is our main orchestrator. Actually the other ones aren't showing up yet. Well, they will on right. They haven't wrote to Mandrel yet. That's the reason. Oh, I know why. Because I closed. That's why. All right, so let me do it over here. Can you do it there? Yeah, I can. I can do it here. Let's close this out. Yeah, I know you want me to go do the tail scale thing, but I don't want to do that right now. I do not want to do it right now. Now it should come back up. There we go. All right, now we're going to go back down to TreeWalker. Now we should be able to see changes as they happen. You can see our graph is gone now, so they're obviously working on that. All right, I can tell you that it looks like it's way too small for a screen. Let's get this bigger. Now we're getting our hot reloads. Why is that? Oh, I see what I did. No, I'm gonna go with that one. Gonna give that just a minute. It's a little concerning if I don't know why. Let's see if I refresh this, will show up. We're gonna ask Ridge. Let's see what. Let's look at the transcript here a minute. So we can get back into. It's not a little disappointed here because we don't usually have this problem. Making sure it's updating these tasks. It added them, but we have nothing showing in progress here. So all right, so we pop over here that we should see these move from to do, there we go, to in progress. All right, anybody watching live, say hi. Ask a question. Tell me what you're working on. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. Because there's, and I kind of had this feeling it's gonna have a lot of empty time here tonight. I'm gonna keep recording. I'm gonna stop live though. I'm gonna keep recording, and we'll put a video up once we get a little more progress here. It'll be a little more interesting for everybody. So until then, this is Ridgetop out.